You know, folks, I imagine that there's a lot of people out there that might be at least somewhat cognizant of discussions that go on the internet, and they might think to themselves, why is everyone arguing about canons? I mean, are things like that just go boom really that much, you know, really something to argue about, considering we don't really use them that much anymore? And then I would say that's the wrong kind of canon, you fool. But in all seriousness, when it comes right down to it, what is considered canon is what is considered consistent. And people don't like change very much. If it's been already established, there's oftentimes, at least in the minds of some, no reason to screw with it. So this week we're going to be talking about a couple of different science fiction universes, beloved to many, that have had some things that are canonical in them futzed with. Actually, now that I think about it, all three topics this week, aside from what Serena is reviewing, kind of go over that, so that'll be interesting to discuss. Plus, Serena is going to be breaking down a manga where some chick eats aliens.
Yeah.
So, a normal week for all of us. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome once again to On the Grind. All right. So, before we get into the nitty-gritty of things, I just want to say I hope that everybody listening to the show had a great Christmas or whatever holiday it is that you celebrate during this particular time of year. Hopefully things were awesome and you had a great time with your family. And if you didn't get to see family, hopefully you had a great time otherwise. However you do that. Just don't tell me, provided it's legal. Anyway, this week, I myself am joined by our social media manager, Serena.
Hello.
Our editor-in-chief, Mike.
Hello.
And our head of logistics has decided to grace us with his presence this week, folks. Everybody say hello to Xavier, because we haven't seen him in a minute.
It is I, me, and I have returned, and I have nothing to show for it. I was away for a while.
Yes, you were.
Doing my thing. But I was actually networking, meeting a lot of new people, a lot of different comic creators, opening a lot of doors. And I hope those doors lead to some interesting places.
Fingers crossed. Well, folks, we're going to go ahead and start this week as we usually start the show with our review of the week. And Serena is taking on the newest thing to be angry about on the internet, the manga called Drama Queen. So, Serena, what the fuck is this about?
So Drama Queen takes place in a world where aliens coexist with humans. These aliens look very cartoonish looking. They look like cartoonish, like exaggerated elephants. So they saved the Earth. A couple of years ago, they saved the Earth from a meteor strike. And so they say. And they start integrating into our society. Enter our protagonist, Nomamoto, a factory worker who gets the shit kicked out of her by her alien boss, who refuses to learn Japanese so she can understand him, and a young man named Kitama, who both of them hate aliens, and both of them decides to strike up a friendship. One day, Kitama decides to kill one of these aliens, and in order to and the first thing he does after killing one was bring the body to, I'm just gonna call her Noma, because like pronouncing her entire Noma. He brings it to Noma's apartment to kind of like try to get rid of the body, and the first thing Noma does is like, this body kind of smells good, let me try eating it. So she and Kitama eats the corpse of this alien, and the two decide to strike up a deal. Kitama murders the aliens and takes his revenge out on them. And Noma decides to eat the bodies because she finds it to be the best tasting thing she's ever had in a while. To Noma, these aliens taste like, what was it, fried squid?
Oh goodness, that must
And
be
they go,
fantastic.
yeah, it tastes like fried squid to her, while Gitama just hates the taste and just thinks it tastes like sewage.
Yeah, fried squid is pretty good if you get it done right. You can fuck up fried squid.
So the character Noma gives me very female Denji vibes, where they both have like a similar mindset on life. Where Denji just wants the at least in the beginning series of Chainsaw Man, he just wants he wants a girlfriend, or in his case, he wants to touch boobs. Noma, she just wants to have a good meal and to make rent.
I can relate to that.
Both of them are very similar ages because Noma in this manga, she's like a teenager who, for some unknown reason, she ran away from her family before she became an adult. Now she lives on her own. Is there? I'm still in the like. There's like 5 chapters out, but I only was able to read 2 because I could. This manga is fucking hard to find for some reason, despite it being so heavily controversial for the dumbest fuck reason. I'm just gonna get this out the way. Is this manga racist? No. Because what was it? What? How is it being racist? Was this being racist too? Like the characters, the main antagonistic force are aliens that states that supposedly this is from Noma and Kitama's perspective. We don't have official confirmation that from their perspective this was like a peaceful invasion, that they staged the whole meteor that was going to head to Earth in order to invade our planet without much issue. So the only reason why I think people think this is racist because they're comparing the aliens to real life immigrants for some fucking odd reason. And it's the
It's not
same
the story
problem.
doing that.
Yeah, no, because one, these aren't humans. 2, we don't know anything about these aliens, and the aliens that we have seen throughout, at least the first 2 chapters I have seen, have come across as really unlikable assholes or just kind of antagonistic towards our main characters, which makes their rather villainous actions seem a bit justified. The chapter that I left off implies that Kitama and Noma are about to get caught by like a secret agent or government agent dude. It has an interesting, yeah, but again, I have only read 2 chapters, so it could go anywhere. I have to continue reading, but as of right now, it's kind of interesting.
I mean,
Again,
it seems like it's dealing with an artist's probably frustration of having to deal with genuine immigrants, which I could understand. Because
yeah,
up in my native country, it is absolutely they fucked the dog absolutely fucking awfully with immigration, and they're rude, they're assholes, and then, yeah, it. I can understand the frustration. It's terrible, but to look at these aliens and be like, oh yeah, this is meant to like represent X group is kind of unintentionally funny to me.
yeah,
Just like,
because the problem that people do with fantasy or supernatural races where they try to apply real life human racial groups or minority groups to these fantastical creatures. And like what I said with the True Blood review, that does not work. That can never work. Because these are not human beings you're dealing with. These are beings that operate on an entirely different morality.
right? Because trying to compare like orcs to black people is one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, what are orcs known for? Raiding, stealing, pillaging, and a lot of saw. So, what are you trying to say?
It was comparing
imaginary person from the internet.
or
Or
comparing
in 40K, they're known for a lot of whoa. Sorry, had to do it.
Had to.
like for some reason people cannot separate reality from fiction and they have to constantly apply real world standards and logics to fiction when it really doesn't make fucking sense.
Well, yeah, I mean, look at the early 20 teens where up until the left decided that they hated J.K. Rowling, every bad guy was Voldemort. And what house, Harry Potter imaginary house you belong to, told a lot about your personality and who you should hang out with.
I also want to say something about that True Blood review. They also tried to compare black people to vampires or LGBT people to vampires.
Oh no! Oh no!
What are you saying?
I'm
What are you trying to
getting,
say, Alan Ball?
I'm
What are you
getting
trying
in
to
praise
say
of
with that?
I'm getting in praise of Shadows flashbacks when he compared the cannibals from what was it? Not Last House on the Left. I'm forgetting the name of the film.
The Hills Have Eyes?
Yeah, The Hills Have Eyes, comparing them to Native Americans or black people. And I'm like,
people.
now hold on a second. These people eat and rape people. What are you trying to say, pal?
Yeah. Vampires prey on people constantly and have a bloodborne illness that they pass on through physical contact.
Yeah,
And that sounds exactly like Group.
Vampires in True Blood are rapists and murderers.
Just like Group.
I
I was about to say it, and like another one that I've seen.
Or
is
just
like
say other the moon.
One that's great is comparing the vampires in Outer Dark to queer folk, quote unquote. That one gets me. I know, Xavier, you've seen Outer Dark, right?
Yeah.
I've never seen Outer Dark.
It's an old Bill Paxton vehicle. It's a good movie though. Bill Paxton, Lance Henriksen's in it. A bunch of vampires are going around just like killing people and shit, and like well, actually, I don't know if Outer Dark is the one, because that's also a Cormac McCarthy novel. I don't know if it's the same thing, but basically, like, if I remember right, Henriksen's playing the leader, and he's like a former Confederate, who just like kills and rapes and eats people, and it's like, this is like Group? Are you fucking kidding me? What are you trying to say, pal?
Just say you hate Group. When you say you hate vampires, just say you hate Group.
Yeah, I just think a lot of these, again, it's always white people making these types of comparison, which makes me think that a lot of these white people doing this have their own biases that they're projecting onto other people because they're just too chick shit to admit that I don't like this group.
I don't like Group.
It's Near Dark, not Outer Dark. That's what we're thinking of.
Just say you don't like Jewish people or black people or whatever group and just move the fuck on. At least be honest with your bigotry.
Well, with one of those being one of the tribe, there's a lot of people that probably would be saying that if they were actually being honest, but, I don't see that happening anytime soon. But regardless, yeah, that's one of the biggest, like, entrapments, because it's like, what are you trying to say here, my guy?
I am not a fan of using supernatural or scientifically species as an allegory for X group. Is one of the reasons I always had a bit of an issue with the mutants from Marvel Comics, because you have a lot of evil motherfuckers with powers who are a threat to humanity, and try to use them as an allegory for real world minorities. It's not exactly a good idea when they are by their nature an existential threat.
I think the best example I've seen of this in recent fiction has been Freerin. And
oh god, Freerin, that one.
Because all of the discussion and all the people that hate Freerin is all about how Freerin's a racist because she won't give the demons a chance. Freerin is entirely about why you should never give the demons a chance, because it's full of stories of people giving the demons a chance, and you finding out that the demons are not life as we know it. Okay,
The
they
demons are
do not
literally
care about you.
sociopathic predators.
Yeah, they are fucking predators, and everything they do to to prey, trigger your empathy and feel bad for them is because they are preying on you, and they know that this will set off certain switches and make you feel bad for them and make it easier for them to prey on you.
Again,
They
one
are
of the
not.
scenes, one of the
Yeah.
most pivotal scenes I seen from one of the clips I seen from the anime was a demon girl literally telling Freeman, Freeman asked her, "Why did you use that word?" She said, "Well, it stops you from killing us." The demon girl had no understanding what the word mother was. She had no understanding what mother was, but she knows that it stops people from attacking her. It was a self-preservation moment. It was trying to save itself. Just let evil creatures be evil creatures, dude. Come on. Also, watch Dan Fan's response about that demon poster. That was fucking fantastic.
Right.
Either way, back on Drama Queen. What is this something that you would tentatively recommend to people, or do you need to read more before you give a definitive statement?
I need to read more. I only read 2 chapters, so I don't have a firm stance on it yet.
Fair enough. Well, this is something that we'll have to revisit in the future because it sounds like an interesting concept. Um, Personally, I don't think enough people get cannibalized, so but that's just me.
I mean,
Regardless, let's move on to the next topic. So this is part this is going to be an interesting discussion this week because we're dealing a lot with things that are canonical and whether or not they're getting retconned, thrown out, yada yada yada. And one of them is Star Trek Discovery has apparently been erased from canon. Now,
And
one thing
nothing of value was lost.
I never watched it, but I never heard anything good about it. I just remember that they tried to put that one failed gubernatorial candidate from Georgia in an episode, which was really weird.
oh right, that big lady.
Yeah, I don't. Stacey Abrams. That's it. I had to think about it, but I just think to myself, it's like, what? Why? But anyway, so here's what's going on is apparently Star Trek Lower Decks, which is kind of a Star Trek animated comedy series, has some timey-wimey fuckery going on where Klingons get turned into an alternate universe version of themselves. And they apparently state it really clearly that it's alternate universes, and then they turn into something from
An alternate
from
universe.
from an alternate universe from Star Trek Discovery, because in Star Trek Discovery the Klingons are purple for some reason.
They're
They look more like
bug-shaped.
gene stealers.
Yeah, and it kind of pissed literally everyone off that watched either the old series or even fans of 80% of the other shows. It's ridiculous.
This is supposed to also be in the wake of the that plague that was started in Enterprise that erased the head ridges off of a bunch of Klingons and made them more human, which was used to explain why in the original series why the Klingons just look like mustached Puerto Ricans instead of Klingons as we know them today.
Yeah.
And to be honest, they were very orcish in both appearance and demeanor. And I think they... I didn't watch Discovery, so don't get mad at me for this. I vaguely remember reading about them worshipping an old Klingon god, and that's what separated them from the normal Klingons. That could be wrong, and if it's wrong, I'm sorry, because I didn't watch it. I read about it. So if that's wrong, it's wrong.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Regardless, one thing that needs to be that we're gonna do real quick, just disclaimer. I can't physically in the video or audio like put up a sign that says this is speculation, but because it's not technically confirmed, it could just be them making a joke about, because it is a comedy series, them making a joke about how weird the Klingons looked in Discovery, and it's not meant to be taken as anything.
Now, it's also possible that if people respond really positively to that and the implication that it's been erased from canon, they may just decide to, why argue?
Basically. In which case, I find it really interesting that we don't really see this very often outside of comic books. Comic books, like things getting retconned.
That's part and parcel of the fucking process, man. It's just like there's good ideas, there's bad ideas, and most often the bad ideas get out there, and the only way to get rid of the bad ideas is be like, oh well, actually Superman wasn't dead. He had his healing factor and whatnot. He just sleeping for a little while because Apocalypse. What was it?
Doomsday.
Doomsday was just whooped his ass so hard that it broke it for a while.
Even Super Friends did a Death of Superman episode.
That they did.
At the end of the episode, it was revealed that actually, no, he went into a Kryptonian healing nap. Which is a real thing, if I remember correctly, that he can do. Where he just lays down and puts his arms in a weird position, and as long as he maintains that, he will not die. Even if he's like right next to like kryptonite.
Just very, very silly. But then again, that was a show that came out during the Silver Age, so we're dealing with Silver Age Superman.
It came out in the Bronze Age, because that was late 70s, early 80s.
Well, when it was Crisis on Infinite Earths, I thought Crisis on Infinite Earths was 85.
Not sure, because Firestar was or Firestorm was in that one, because he was the only one that could go to the sun to retrieve Superman's body, because that's where they shot him.
Oh, that's right.
They had his funeral and they dumped him in the sun, and Firestorm had to go get him.
Regardless, though, I guess though this kind of comes to mind. Excuse me, sir. Why are we calling it the Death and Return of Superman then? Because the nap and Return of Superman doesn't have the same ring to it. But regardless, it's something that we see very often in comic books. We see like every year there's usually a new debate about something getting retconned. It's not something we usually see very often in other stuff, and a lot of times claims about things like being ditched, they're very tenuous, and some companies just tend to just not reference them. In this particular case, like the idea of them flat out just saying that, yeah, that was an alternate universe, that's interesting to me, if it's not a gag.
It could be A/B testing if you think about it. Like, oh hey, we don't want to like hard reset this, but we want to see how people react to it, and if they like it, as Javier said, I think already, well, happy accidents, right? But if they don't like that it's been retconned, well, it was just a joke. Ha 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 ha.
It was just a dream. Nobody really shot JR.
Oh god. What a fuck what a fucking episode. Jesus, what a retcon that was.
Okay. For something that's not old as shit, it's just old, Peg wasn't really pregnant. It was all just a dream that Al was having.
Oh. I mean, that's still pretty old, my bro. But, okay, so all these things. That's kind of the reason why I think that retcons on TV are so fucking hard to do, because everyone gets fucking mad about it. It's just... Because everyone hates having their memories, like invalidated, I guess you could say. and especially with like long-running series, like again, like, as Javier just mentioned, Dallas, that was a big fucking deal, and at the time anyway. And they're just freely retconning things. It's strange. It is strange, but I'm for it if it's true. Plus, oh god, the only one I do feel bad for is the pilot from Discovery, because she seemed to somehow just keep inflating over time, in spite of being in a military operation.
So yeah, I don't know if that actress has like health problems or got something going on. I hope she gets the care she needs.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's just personal decisions. Live your best life, I guess.
But yeah,
It doesn't help the show at all.
No, it doesn't. It's just it's a strange show with weird decisions made.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, if I remember right, Star Trek Discovery was kind of like created around that time where we were getting a lot of people that were getting like creating shows that were trying way too hard for the quote unquote modern audience as they pitched it, when in reality it was just like political grandstanding in fiction that we all like. And like this was just one that like it had its first season, a lot of people didn't like it. It had second season, a lot of people didn't like it, and then it just kind of disappeared.
Yeah,
no one talks about it really, other than the speculation here.
Well, unlike previous Star Treks, this one stars a woman. Like Voyager didn't happen.
Yeah.
Of course, everyone liked Janeway. Everyone liked Janeway because she also committed a lot of war crimes. And she's very unapologetic about it. She's super unapologetic about it too.
Well, and it's also like, well, this stars somebody who's black. Did we forget Benjamin motherfucking Sisko? The best captain?
Fucking motherfucking space Jesus?
On this podcast, we stand our war criminal waifus, our war criminal girl bosses.
Well, we stand Benjamin Sisko here because he went into an Edward Norton movie after Deep Space Nine and destroyed racism.
And he punched a god.
That too. Dude, he didn't give a fuck about Q. That was great.
Jean-Luc never hit me. I'm not Jean-Luc, motherfucker.
I'm not Picard. This is one of the best lines of the whole show. Oh my god.
Benjamin is based.
Worf was scared of him. Put that into perspective.
We knew more captains like Benjamin Sisko. He was just too base for his time.
He's the best. Folks, if you're out there and you have not watched Deep Space Nine, go stub your toe, then get some Jack Daniels and watch Deep Space Nine. No, I'm kidding. Don't stub your toe. Jack Daniels is optional. You don't have to do that. It's an inside joke. But
yeah, you're basically condemning them to spending a year alone in isolation. Certainly not on Discord with their friends.
That is true. But anyway, it's interesting that that's happened. But speaking of also things changing in canon, this is another one that's kind of coming up, that's coming up recently. This is in the Warhammer 40k community. There's a lot of discussion on it in certain circles within 40k. Now, here's something that needs mentioning. We're going to be talking about. We've mentioned it on the show before. The concept of a female member of the Adeptus Custodes in Warhammer 40k. Quite frankly, the amount of people that give a flying fuck about the Adeptus Custodes is pretty low in regards to, like, in 40k in general. A lot of people like the idea of the Custodes being there, guarding the Emperor, and that's just their thing. They just do that. And a lot of people don't, like, really know a whole lot about them beyond that. I will freely admit, I can't even remember the name of the Custodes that was, like, the Emperor's right-hand guy during the heresy. I cannot remember his name for the life of me. Just because I'm personally not that interested in the Custodes, because they are so fucking powerful that they become less interesting with their existence. So I just like them. They're there. They guard the Emperor. That's why they're so fuck off powerful. You know, and I just leave it at that. That's a personal thing. I imagine there's some people out there that fucking love the Custodes for whatever reason, even though they only had like 3 books. Whatever, they do look cool. I'll give you that. I think a lot of the people that like seem to like the Custodes, they actually just like TTS, and they really like Kitten.
And the other 3 Custodes who are the Pillarmen.
Yeah. But as it stands, like I personally not like something that I go gaga about. But that's just me. I'm a Salamanders guy. You know, it's Vulcan lives, stomp stomp. Mm-hmm. But this is an interesting thing because people looked into a part of the Codex for the Adeptus Custodes that came out not however long ago. And in it says something to the tune of there are... oh, wait, I found it. So this, it says here, as custodians accumulate victories, they are awarded a name to commemorate each one. Though these are kept secret from those outside the Legion, and in public, a custodian will continue to use the name granted to him upon his investiture. So basically, for those playing the home game, that basically means, let's say we have a custodian named Daryl. Well, Daryl goes out, which is the most boring custodian Warhammer name I could think of, but fuck it. It's better than Bob. So...
Hey.
No. I'm kidding. But you know, they go out and that let's say that they happen to be on a planet where they and a detachment of Space Marines successfully defend a city on some world from an entire arm of a Tyranid hive fleet, which is a huge deal. Then you might get Daryl, and then his title within the Custodians, which others would not know. He would be Daryl Slayer of Tyranids.
Jormungandr Slayer or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. So they would get that kind of a knightly sort of a title. But anyway,
Daryl the Stout.
Yeah, something like that. But it says, deed names are those of ancient kings, blah, 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 blah. And they're inscribed upon a custodian's armor. It continues to say, as a legion of exceptional individuals, the Adeptus Custodes are less regimented than other Imperial forces, with promotion based entirely on merit. Because for those who don't know, the Empire is very corrupt. So, outside of certain sects, like... promotion isn't always merit-based. Sometimes you just get field promoted because your captain caught a stray bullet. You know, it happens. But anyway,
sometimes you get promoted because your father's been the governor's son for like however many years, and his father was the governor's son. Anyway.
But anyway, the captain general leads, aided by a group of 10 tribunes. Below the tribunate, commanders of individual forces are known as shield captains. Armies or shield hosts are formed from across all 5 orders. Dozens of other sub-organizations, brotherhoods, and groupings run through the orders, such as the Wardens, Shadowkeepers, Solar Watch, so on and so forth. So the use of the word brotherhood is what is causing the hitch and the giddy up of people that care about this sort of thing. Here's the thing that I'm going to kind of let the air out of the tires a little bit here because I kind of feel like this needs to be considered. A couple different things. First, Gav Thorpe, who is a writer for Games Workshop. He's not one of the heads of Games Workshop, but he's a writer over there. He's done a lot of Raven Guard stuff. He's written recently wrote, or a few years ago, wrote a novel about the things going on in the Indomitus Crusade. Guy's been around a while, works for Games Workshop, also helps with the development of some of their tabletop stuff. He flat out said on Blue Sky that no, they have not been retconned. They still exist. But one thing that he said is that there are miniature representations of them. But there's not, because the custodians don't get new minis very often. So that was incorrect. People are trying to grill him on well, where are they? So but that's one thing to air out of the tires. Somebody from Games Workshop who works for them has flat out said no, they're still canon. The second thing is that it says dozens of sub-organizations, brotherhoods, and groupings. Being someone who is, as people in here who have actually had me work with them on their writing, know that I am very anal about language and what it means. Saying brotherhoods, and groupings means that there are some groups that are male exclusive and some that could or could not be. So, again, for those of you that are invested in this, I gotta let the air out of the tires a little bit. You gotta curb your enthusiasm just a smidge, because that wording tells me that maybe there's just some groups that are completely male-centric. There's some others that maybe have a female member in them, in which case you wouldn't call it a brotherhood. Or brotherhood could be completely figurative, and you're using it as a very weird gender-neutral term, even though it's not, which in that case is just, it drives the English lover in me fucking insane. So that's the second thing to let the air out of the tires, is the language does not completely side with that there. And the third thing, they just put out an episode of one of their animated series on their Warhammer Plus subscription service that specifically featured the one female custodian that we know about.
Which,
now,
well, what we know about the lore, and if they were going to do this, maybe they should elaborate a little bit further. Mm-hmm. We talked about this before the stream, that because of how hard it is to make a custody, in the first place, there aren't going to be very many female, if there are any at all. It's probably one, maybe a hand, you can probably count them on one hand. That's it. Because of how hard it is to make even one, and how many failures there are, even among men.
Not to mention,
maybe if
go ahead.
They played into that more.
Yeah,
no, I'm sorry. But they played into that more, I think people would have a little bit more time accepting it. Where build a lore they didn't know it would work. It was literally just whatever. So somebody, High Lord of Terra didn't have any kids, or had one kid, it was a daughter, and they were on tough times, and they needed the prestige of donating a child to the Emperor's service. So no matter what happens, they win. They don't care, and
it worked the one
it just
time they tried.
To work, yeah.
Basically, and not to mention, we don't really know how the custodians are created. They're not like Space Marines. They don't have a gene seed that they're part of. They are supposedly completely human. They're not considered transhuman at all, which is a shocking thing considering what they're fucking capable of. But they
what is it? A Space Marine is worth 100 men, but fucking Custodes is worth 100 Space Marines. Ugh.
Yeah, basically something like that. There have been instances where Space Marines have killed the Custodes, but it took a lot of them to pull it off. Because I think the Dark Angels killed one, but that's because they set the Custodes up to be hit by a missile from a Hellstrom carrier.
Yeah.
Which those things can destroy dreadnoughts easily. So that killing a Custodes doesn't surprise me. And then there was like another one where a custodian came with reinforcements for the Black Templars during the beginning of the Indomitus Crusade, and but they had Primaris Marines with them, and the Black Templars, being the bunch of goofballs that they are, much as I love them, they killed the custodian that brought them and the Marines. In which case, Gilliman and Grand Marshal Helbrecht had a bit of a yelling contest after that, because you just killed a fucking Custodes, you idiot. Which, of course, like at this point now has been ironed over, because there are now Primaris in the Black Templars, plus Helbrecht and I'm forgetting the name of their chaplain.
It'll come.
Come on.
Hopefully.
God, what is his name? Grimaldus.
Grimaldus.
Yes, there we go. My nominal aphasia struck again. But Helbrecht and Grimaldus have both crossed the Rubicon Primaris as well. So, but regardless, the one thing about the Custodes is that I'm personally of the opinion, because the one thing that we have been told is that the Emperor created the process that creates them, and it is hinted to be alchemical. So it's not the same sort of a process that creates a Space Marine or a Grey Knight.
It's also supposed to be unique to each individual. Of a lore video I saw, it described it as the Emperor creates a key to unlock the ultimate potential of each individual he's planning to induct into the Custodes. It's one key for the one specific person. And that's why the Emperor had no problems creating Custodes, but while he's gone, all they have is what he left behind. So you have one key that he left behind, and you're burning through thousands of people until you find someone it kind of works on.
Basically. Whereas, like with the Space Marines, as long as you are a male and you're young and strong, you have a chance of taking the gene seed and becoming a Space Marine. You have a shot. And the reason that they are male specifically is because of the Primarchs. The Primarchs are all men. So it just wouldn't take in a woman. Plus all the surgeries and stuff like that. It's just not designed for women. So
there's something very specific that requires the Y chromosome.
Yes.
Though to be fair, that Malkador was suggested making a couple of them females specifically so they wouldn't fight.
Which that Malkador, you fucking goof. I love you, but Jesus Christ.
we learn a lot about Malkador. You don't get out much, do you, bro?
Dude,
Malkador did not touch that grass that often.
Would have happened a lot sooner. Like the moment the Primarchs fucking met, it would have been the Horus Heresy.
The Horus Heresy would have been started over one sister taking the other's fucking curling iron.
It would have been the Helen Heresy.
So
you have 4 female Primarchs. They're in a room together. One leaves. The remaining 3 just talk about how much they fucking hate that one.
Oh yeah.
And a good majority, not half, a good majority that would turn to chaos.
Oh Lord, that time of the month, that time of the month comes along. They all suddenly love Angron.
Look, it's just I'm just going through a chaos phase, Dad. Okay.
Oh yeah, I sold my soul to hell so I could fuck this like angry demon dude, Dad. We all women do that sometimes. It's a phase, Dad. Not that big deal. Selling your soul.
You're just mad because I'm cooler than you.
They watch a Johnny Depp movie. Suddenly they're Slaneshi. Just oh man. But yeah, that like. So there's loopholes that you could use there. And by the way, before anybody fucking crucifies me or exterminatus me, that'd be a little bit more appropriate given what we're talking about. I am not saying that I am for making female Custodes. I'm not against it either. I'm neutral on it. I think that the way that they were introduced could have been done better. I feel like because they just introduced them through a tweet.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it, give us a good fucking story to go with it. Like, Jesus Christ.
I have like
Don't be like, there's female custodies, take that, chuds. How about you give us a fucking story to go with it and make it good? Put some fucking work into it.
yeah, give us a short story. Give us an audio drama. Like there's a whole lot of things that Games Workshop has the capability of doing that could have been not only used to integrate this, because some people have apparently been pushing for it that are writers for the Black Library, but on top of that, you could make some money off of it, you know?
Literally,
and
the story we came up with here, recording this, would be way better than what they have now, which is nothing.
yeah, basically. Well, they have that episode of the Tithes, and a lot of people didn't like that episode because the custodian was such a bitch. She was just cruel for no fucking reason. Like she didn't probably the meanest custodies that I think we've seen in the fiction so far.
Now, the orders that she gave to exterminatus those planets, I get that. Like, they're because you have that arm of I think it's is it Leviathan or Behemoth?
That was Leviathan, I think. Yeah.
By having a bunch of planets with just no biomass, it may convince the fleet that there's nothing further ahead, and they may go somewhere else.
That was tried again in the prayer fiction, and they ended up trying to make it impact a Wa, which worked out great for the Wa when they ran out of ammo.
Yeah. I think the only chapter that's like had a lot of success or did really well against the Tyranids, and even then they had backup, was the Carcharodons. But it's the fucking Carcharodons, you know. It's like, they are. We've already talked about them. I'm not going to suck them off again. But point being is that like with the Custodies, like just people didn't like that episode because the character wasn't that likable. So which again, that's just you fumbling the ball, because I think if the character had been somebody that had a lot of depth to her and something that people found interesting about her, then I think that like people would have been a little bit more on board. It's like, okay, well maybe we could do something a little bit different with this, but no such luck. In reality, I'm of the opinion that when it comes to the Warhammer fan base, what Warhammer fans really want is more of an emphasis on the Adeptus Sororitas, the Sisters of Battle, because A, they're fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have, I love me some Space Marines, but Jesus fucking Christ, the Space Marines have the best power armor I think of all humanity in regards to design. I'm a really big fan of the Mark 7 and a big fan of the Mark 10. Those designs are just really well done. But I'm also I really love the armor designs of the Adeptus Sororitas. Not to mention just like they have battle churches that they fucking airdrop on people. They have tanks that are pipe organs. Like it's so fucking, it's ridiculous, but it's fun. It's really fun to see. Because when you start getting into the sisters, they have some really unique stories, because a lot of them are about the struggle of faith, which is something that anybody can relate to. You know? It's really, I think the problem with the Custodies is it's hard to relate to them. They're too fucking perfect. You know? They're these golden gods who basically guard the fucking emperor. And like how do I relate to that? Like it's not easy to do. Not saying you can't make a good Custodies character for those listening, but just saying it's more difficult because of the lack of struggle. It's way too easy to run into the Mary Sue problem. With the Sororitas, like they're pretty outside of their armor, they're just people. They're just women who care about other people. They follow the emperor, and they are willing to fight for what they believe in. Hard not to get behind that, in my opinion.
It's also wild because they have a lot of times where they actually channel the Emperor's light, and they get like those Saintist abilities.
Oh yeah,
like that happens a lot. Well, not a lot, but it happens often enough that you don't want to sleep on them. I think the real crime of the female custody in the tithing episode is that, on top of being unlikable as a character and characterization, she didn't do anything that was like cool. Like, the custodies are supposed to be the cream of the crop. Like, a custody showing up, it's supposed to be a big fucking deal. And it was kind of treated as just whatever. I'm here, I'm going to yell at you, and you got to do what I say because I speak for the Emperor. If she had shown up and done like really, really fucking cool shit, and like, this is what it means to be a custody, this is the difference between a custody and a Astartes, then started speaking on behalf of the Emperor, it would have been it would have been received way different.
because basically, didn't all she do is just kill some Tyranid warriors?
Yeah, and I think her entourage, which had some Sisters of Silence, I think they did more of the work.
Yeah, I remember people. I haven't watched the episode yet. I plan on my YouTube channel doing a review of like everything Warhammer animated. I'm working on the script as we speak. So I'm gonna watch it at some point. But I'm curious because some people said that they were more interested in the Sisters of Silence after that episode than they were the actual custodian, and I'm like, damn, that's like, no offense to the writer, but that sounds like a fumble to me. But
yeah, big fumble.
Yeah, because it's sort of like it's your big stage debut. Like, you've gotta, what the impression of that first instance is what's going to, either endear you or make people hate you. For example, how do we all feel about Leandros?
Fuck Leandros. Oh God, the goddamn Codex worshipping asshole. Jesus. Ugh.
Yeah, I got nothing on this. That's a little bit outside my knowledge base. I'm still
okay. Did you play Space Marine?
Not the first one. No, I
Okay.
watched the cutscenes for the second.
Oh
Okay.
man, you've got to play the original. It's a blast even to this day. It's Steam sales going on right now. How much is it on Steam, the original? I'm gonna check that out real quick. Because I picked up Mechanicus. I'm really looking forward to getting into that.
Recently, my Steam picks, I picked up Star Trucker.
Which is not bad. It's not. I didn't really find it interesting.
Oh, this is $14, Xavier. Yeah, you ought to pick up the original. It's amazing.
I don't get paid for another week and a half, and unless I'm using Dash Bucks.
Well, I might buy it for you then at some point. But regardless,
yeah, I also got this thing called Gestalt Steam and Cinder, which is like a Metroidvania that looks really cool.
Interesting. Back on the topic at hand, though. Regardless, I don't really think that this is going to end up being an actual retcon. I have a feeling that they're probably going to go on social media and just basically say, like this codex was written in 2013, and we published it in 2014, and we made the decision to have the female custodies after this had been done. So we just, our bad, we forgot to go in and change it. So as it stands, again, take it or leave it. If they're retcon, then they're retconned. If they're not, they're not. Like, a lot of the doomsaying about, because we talked about this before the show too, we had a long discussion we probably should have recorded. Basically, like, there's a lot of people that doomsay about, like, how Games Workshop is doing, when in reality, their stock is the highest right now than it's ever been. It's like $180 a share, which is pretty fucking good. And, you know, like, I think that whether or not there are female custodians in the future, it's not something that's going to really create a riot. The big thing is that, like, if you're going to make a change, make it something that people are going to enjoy. Don't just do it to get the chuds, quote unquote. It's not, it's lame. So it's lame, it's boring, it doesn't help anybody, and nobody really cares about it. So, or at least it's not going to endear you to anybody. So, final topic for this week. To nobody's surprise, nobody watched The Acolyte.
I mean,
like, let's.
There were people that were willing to watch it for me and tell me about it, and they I didn't miss much. And based on the synopsis I read, they are correct.
So let me go. This was reported by Cosmic Book News. So, no offense if anybody who is a fan of Cosmic Book News. I don't mean to insult anybody, but I always try to go from the source. But I'm trying to find the quote. Okay, so this is from Alan Bergman, who's co-chair of Disney. He said this is a discussion they had with Vulture. So Vulture asks the question, staying on the franchise front, let's talk Star Wars. Feels like it's had a bumpier road as of late compared to Marvel. The Acolyte had many strong reviews and did well in the ratings its first week out, but you ultimately opted against a second season. Why didn't you move forward? And can you offer any hint as to how Skeleton Crew is doing or its future? And Bergman said, so as it relates to Acolyte, we were happy with our performance, but it wasn't where it needed to be given the cost structure of that title, quite frankly, to go and make a season 2. So that's why we didn't do that. So, effectively, it doesn't have enough of an audience to justify the cost of it, because it cost more than $200 million, which is kind of crazy, because I'm looking up right now how much the Mandalorian cost. Okay, so for comparison, the total cost for all 3 seasons of The Mandalorian was $360 million.
respectable, I guess. Yeah.
So it cost about $80 million less per season on average for The Mandalorian as opposed to The Acolyte, which The Mandalorian, I didn't watch season 3, but I really like the first 2 seasons of it. So, because I love Mandalorians. I love their culture. I think they're fucking cool. Canderous Ordo is an amazing character. God rest the soul of John Saigon. That's all I have to say. But, The Acolyte was just the clips I watched of it.
It seemed insufferable.
Yeah, like, parts of it I felt like I was on LSD. It's like the power of one, the power of two, the power of many. Like, what the fuck is going on?
And they try to have this very weird moral gray story, trying to portray the Jedi as the villains, and it fucking failed.
Yeah, all you've shown is that the Jedi were kind of right.
It requires the characters to be idiots and not be forthcoming with information, which is the worst, which is the most frustrating type of writing I see in fiction.
Yeah, but this Jedi killed all those witches. The Jedi didn't know that was going to happen.
And plus, the witches kind of started it. They were just aggro for no reason.
Those witches were using some weird fucking attack that looks like if he didn't stop it, shit would go wrong really quickly, and
they possessed one of his buddies and attacked him with them.
What else here?
I'm like, why create a show that they knew nobody was going to watch?
They told the girls, lie to the Jedi, or they'll take you. And Jedi says, you don't have to go if you don't want to. You have a choice.
Who was it?
So,
that,
yeah.
So the creator Leslie Headland was the creator of this. We've talked about the Acolyte before, but I feel the need to reiterate this because people like Serena asked the question of like, why was this created? I have a feeling it's Leslie Headland knew the right people because she was Harvey Weinstein's scheduler. Yeah. So yeah, personal assistant, you know.
And
And
procuring some young maidens.
well, like allegedly, like for legal reasons, allegedly. But when you look at her like director's stuff, like a lot of it is maybe one episode about stuff from television shows here and there, and then everything else is basically just stuff nobody watched or just documentaries. So it's like it's clear that she probably knew Kathleen Kennedy, and Kathleen Kennedy said, "Yeah, we'll give you a shot." Because I mean, just Kathleen Kennedy has been ingrained in Hollywood for how long did she work with Lucas and Spielberg? It was a long time. Well, like 20, 30 years.
A terrifyingly, awfully long amount.
She was their go-to for a long time. Like she worked very closely with them. Let me look this up real quick. So she started with Spielberg in all the way back in E.T. with E.T. That's wild. Like so she's been around forever, you know, as a producer. And you look at you look at her like her production credits, like some of the best movies ever are in it. So she's in like she probably knows fucking everybody in Hollywood. So
right now, Spielberg has come out, and some other people have talked about, you know, what her role has been in some of the stuff, where she was just an assistant or she was in the room with ideas that they often didn't use.
well, as a producer, you're not necessarily the like part of the creative focus. You're just the person that can get things done. Which, largely speaking, wouldn't surprise me if that was kind of her thing. Is that because working with somebody like Steven Spielberg, who's a very creative guy, or working with George Lucas, also a very creative guy, you know, if you're the person that can take the ideas and make them happen, you know, it wouldn't really surprise me if that's largely what she was doing for these gentlemen.
It also makes more sense why Lucas would pick her as his successor. If she was really good at getting things done, he may have gotten confused and thought that she was always on the same page as him.
Yeah. Because, like, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's hard telling sometimes, like, what it is that makes a creative force work the way that it does, but it does. And, you know, so she's been around forever. So it wouldn't surprise me if the lady who was in charge of the show just knew her and, you know, managed to get in her ear and say, hey, you know, Force is female, right? And, you know, then gets an opportunity that she honestly didn't deserve. Which, like, that's kind of my big thing about The Acolyte is it was a show for nobody because the person creating it didn't know a fucking thing about Star Wars. And was just kind of making shit up as they went along. And it was just rejected by everybody because it's like, what? Who is this for? Like, why should I watch this? This does not seem interesting. You know, the point was made up in that interview with Vulture that, like, oh, the first episode did really well on the ratings. Well, it's because it's the new Star Wars thing. Everybody was curious about what was going to happen with it, and then people saw it for what it was, and they're like, "What the fuck is this? Who greenlit this, and why?" So I'm just of the perspective that I really feel that it's the funny part about it is that it has put Lucasfilm in a position where they're like, okay, we're just going to focus on what makes money, which is why The Mandalorian is getting a fucking movie. Because that will make money, because everybody loves Pedro Pascal as The Mandalorian. Everybody loves little Grogu, you know? So, but it's kind of interesting to hear that admitted in the in an interview so openly. That just basically it just didn't make the money that we needed it to continue it. Because honestly, this is the one criticism that I've heard from a lot of people is you wonder where that money went.
Yeah, it didn't look like it went into production.
Part of me wonders, like this is something that I really am hoping in about 10 years or so that we get somebody who worked for one of the unions around this to do a tell-all about this time period in Hollywood. I am genuinely wondering if a lot of this budget is just union payoffs. Like, just bloated union contracts and stuff like that. Because, like, it's not like... I'm trying to think, who did they have any major actors on this? I think Carrie-Anne Moss was in it, wasn't she?
And Jedi Master Squid Game.
Yeah, but he's not really a big name.
Well, I mean, it's the biggest they had. Everyone else was kind of debut-ish.
Yeah, it's like, looking here, the only name that I would call a big name would be Carrie-Anne Moss. Which, by the way, for a 57-year-old woman, she still looks great.
It's ridiculous.
Regardless, though... Oh, go ahead.
Some people have those just genetic lottery. There was this particular model for a local gym where I'm from, where she looked fantastic even into her 60s. Like, there's no way she's 60-something. She's like late 30s easily, but she looked that way consistently for decades. So they were always using her as the model, for their gym. It is like Morris Fitness World. Nobody will know it, but some people just hit the genetic lottery. I mean, I've seen some Twitter posts, some TikTok posts where they're like, this is, the grandma in her 50s, the daughter in her 30s, and the granddaughter in, her early 20s or whatever. And they look the same.
It's ridiculous.
It is.
Yep. See, both. That's the thing about that fourth Matrix movie that nobody liked, is like both her and Keanu seemingly have drunk from the fountain of youth, because they're both 57. So, regardless, though, I can't say that I'm surprised with this. I'm really hoping that it's one of those things I just want people to learn the lesson, because though I imagine some people are cheering for the failure of the Acolyte, and you have reasons to do so as a Star Wars fan, I get it. At the same time, my whole hope is that somebody learned from this. Somebody saw what happened and is like, well, fuck. hopefully they're able to rebound from this and give people what they're looking for, because I just feel that more often than not, that is one of the biggest problems that we see, is just entertainment companies learning nothing. And then the next thing you know, they're in the ground, and a bunch of people that were, you know, just working stiffs suddenly lose their jobs. It's not a fun position to be in. So yeah, fingers crossed on that one. I think that's about really all we've got for this particular episode. Once again, I'm hoping that everybody out there, you had yourselves a great Christmas or whatever holiday that you celebrate. We will be back, of course. I'm trying to think, because New Year's Day is on Wednesday, so that's probably when this video is going to go live. The video version of this will go live on New Year's Day. Yeah, he's like, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
And then, of course, we'll be returning next week for more hijinks. Is there anything else that you guys think we should say before we take off?
Don't forget to spay and neuter your pets.
Oh, Xavier wanted me to explain the Horus Heresy using the McDonald's discount menu. I might do that next week.
Yes, let's do that next week. That should be fun. So on that note, everybody, we want to thank you so much again for watching and listening. We will see you guys next time. For everybody here, my name is Micah Curtis, the head of Grindstone Arts. Have yourselves a great rest of your week.
Frick.